There's a difference between being kind and being nice, and confusing the two is quietly ruining your life. Kindness comes from strength. It's a choice made by someone who could say no, but chooses to give. Niceness comes from fear. It's the constant, anxious effort to be liked, to avoid conflict, to keep everyone comfortable, even at the cost of yourself. And here's the brutal truth. Almost no one will tell you. People do not respect the nice. They use them and quietly look down on them. You felt it. The more you bend to keep everyone happy, the less they seem to value you. The nicer you are, the more you're taken for granted. It feels deeply unfair until you understand what the Stoics understood. Respect and attraction don't come from pleasing people. They come from being someone who respects himself first. In the next 20 minutes, I'll give you 10 Stoic lessons drawn from Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus that will free you from weak, people-pleasing niceness and make you strong, self-possessed, and dangerously attractive. Let's begin. Here's what no one taught you. Nice was never a virtue. It's often just fear wearing a friendly mask. The Stoics prized real virtues: courage, justice, wisdom, self-control. They said nothing about being agreeable because they understood that pleasing everyone is impossible and trying to is a form of weakness. The person who can't bear anyone's disapproval, who abandons their own needs to keep the peace, who says yes when they mean no. That person isn't good. They're afraid. And fear is never attractive. Marcus Aurelius could be kind, but he was never a doormat. Epictetus taught that your worth cannot depend on other people's approval. They built lives on self-respect and let kindness flow from strength, not from the terror of being disliked. That's the shift these 10 lessons will make in you. And it starts by naming what your niceness really is. The first lesson is the one you have to face, honestly. Most of your niceness isn't goodness. It's a strategy to be liked and to avoid conflict. Be honest with yourself. When you agree with something you don't believe, laugh at something that isn't funny, or say yes when everything in you wants to say no, that isn't kindness. It's fear. Fear of disapproval, fear of conflict, fear of not being liked. Epictetus taught that a person controlled by the need for approval has handed their freedom to the crowd, and a person who isn't free isn't attractive. People can feel the neediness underneath the smile. Real strength and real magnetism begins the moment you stop performing niceness for approval, when you can be pleasant because you choose to, not because you're afraid not to be. Everything changes. Your kindness gains weight because everyone senses you could withhold it. So, catch yourself. The next time you're about to bend just to be liked, pause and ask, am I being kind or am I being afraid? Choose from strength, not fear. And the next lesson gives you the most important word you've been afraid to say. The second lesson hands you back your power in a single word. Learn to say no, calmly and without apology. The nice person can't say no. They overcommit, overgive, and quietly resent it because they've never learned that no is a complete sentence. Seneca warned that our time and our lives get consumed by our inability to refuse the demands of others. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you betray yourself a little, and you teach people that your boundaries don't exist. Here's why saying no makes you attractive. It signals that your time and your yes actually mean something. A person who can't refuse has a worthless yes. It costs them nothing to give, so it's worth nothing to receive. But the person who says no easily makes their yes valuable, and people respect and are drawn to those they cannot simply take from. So, practice the calm, guilt-free no. No long explanation, no apology, just a steady no. That doesn't work for me. It will feel uncomfortable at first because you've been trained to fear it. Do it anyway. And the next lesson stops you from shrinking every time you speak. The third lesson corrects a habit you don't even notice. Stop apologizing for things that require no apology. The nice person apologizes constantly for taking up space, for having needs, for asking a question, for simply existing. Sorry to bother you. Sorry, this is probably stupid. Each unnecessary apology is a small act of self-erasure, a signal to everyone that you don't quite believe you have the right to be here. The Stoics held that a person should carry themselves with the quiet dignity of someone responsible for a worthy life, not shrink and apologize their way through the day. Over-apologizing repels people because it broadcasts low self-worth, and people take you at the value you place on yourself. When you stop apologizing for existing, you stand taller. You take up your space without flinching, and that quiet self-assurance is magnetic in a way that no amount of niceness ever could be. So cut the reflex apologies. Replace "sorry to bother you" with "do you have a moment?" Replace "sorry, this might be dumb" with simply saying the thing. Speak like someone who has every right to. And the next lesson is where you draw the hardest line. The fourth lesson is where your self-respect becomes visible. Stop quietly accepting disrespect to keep the peace. The nice person swallows insults, excuses bad behavior, and tells themselves it's fine because confrontation feels worse than mistreatment. But every time you accept disrespect without a word, you teach the other person that they can treat you that way, and you teach yourself that you're not worth defending. Marcus Aurelius carried himself with a dignity that didn't need to shout, but never invited contempt either. Self-respect draws a line calmly and holds it. This is deeply attractive because people are drawn to those who won't be walked over. You don't need to be aggressive. In fact, the strongest response to disrespect is often calm and unbothered, but you must not pretend it's acceptable. The person who quietly refuses to tolerate mistreatment commands a respect the endlessly tolerant never will. So stop excusing it. When someone crosses a line, address it calmly, directly, without drama. Let people feel that there is a limit with you. That limit is where your self-respect lives, and self-respect is the root of all magnetism. And the next lesson frees you from the trap underneath it all. The fifth lesson breaks the chain that keeps you nice. Accept that you cannot be respected and universally liked at the same time. The nice person's deepest fear is that someone somewhere might not like them, so they contort themselves endlessly, trying to be everything to everyone, and end up being no one in particular. Epictetus was blunt about this. Other people's opinions are not in your control, and staking your peace on them is a recipe for misery. The moment you truly accept that some people will dislike you no matter what you do, an enormous weight lifts. Here's the paradox. The need to be liked by everyone makes you unlikable, and the freedom from that need makes you magnetic. People who stand for something, who have edges, who don't dissolve to please the room, those are the people others are drawn to. Being liked by everyone requires being no one. Being someone requires being willing to be disliked. So let some people not like you. Stand for what you believe. Have opinions, edges, a spine. You'll lose the approval of people who never mattered and gain the respect of people who do. And the next lesson teaches you to let them feel it. The sixth lesson releases you from an impossible job. Stop trying to manage everyone else's feelings. The nice person believes it's their responsibility to keep everyone happy, so they twist themselves to prevent any disappointment, any discomfort, any hard feeling in anyone around them. But this is a fantasy of control. The Stoics taught clearly that other people's emotions are not in your power. You can act with integrity, but you cannot guarantee how someone feels about it. And trying to is exhausting, and it makes you a servant to everyone's moods. When you accept that people are allowed to be disappointed in you, and that their disappointment is not an emergency you must fix, you become free. You can make the honest choice, hold the boundary, say the true thing, and let the other person have their reaction without collapsing. And there is a quiet strength in that, a strength people are drawn to. The person who can sit calmly with someone else's disappointment is a person who cannot be manipulated by it. So let them be disappointed. Let them be a little upset. Do what's right and allow them their feelings without rushing to manage them. Their emotions are theirs to carry, not yours. And the next lesson gives you back your voice. The seventh lesson returns something you've been hiding, your real opinion. The nice person keeps their true thoughts locked away, agreeing with whoever's in front of them, afraid that honesty might cause friction. But a person with no stated views who echoes back whatever the room wants to hear is forgettable and quietly distrusted, because everyone senses there's no real person underneath. The Stoics valued honesty and integrity. Marcus Aurelius urged himself to be straightforward and truthful rather than to perform for approval. Speaking your truth, calmly, respectfully, but honestly, makes you magnetic because it makes you real. People are drawn to those who have a genuine point of view, who say what they actually think instead of hiding behind agreeableness. Your honesty gives others something solid to respect, and even those who disagree will respect you more than the person who simply mirrors them. So, say what you mean. Share your real opinion, even when it's not the popular one. Do it with tact, not cruelty, but do it. A person of honest conviction is worth 10 agreeable ones, and the next lesson gives that conviction a structure. The 8th lesson builds the frame that holds all the rest. Have clear standards and enforce them. The nice person has no standards because standards might disappoint someone. They accept whatever they're given, tolerate whatever they're handed, and let others set the terms of every relationship. But a person with no boundaries is a person with no shape. Easy to overlook, easy to take advantage of. The Stoics lived by firm principles. They knew who they were and what they would and would not accept. That inner structure is what gave them their unshakable presence. Standards are attractive because they signal self-worth and self-respect. When you have clear lines for how you'll be treated, how you'll spend your time, what you will and won't accept, people rise to meet them. Paradoxically, the person who expects to be treated well usually is, and the person who accepts anything usually gets exactly that. You teach people your worth by the standards you hold. So decide your standards and hold them without apology. Know what you accept and what you don't. Let your boundaries give you a shape the world has to respect. And the next lesson makes sure your strength never curdles into cruelty. The 9th lesson is the one that keeps you good. Replace weak niceness with strong kindness. This is the whole point, and it's easy to miss. The goal is not to become cold, harsh, or cruel. That's just weakness of a different kind. The goal is to make your kindness come from strength instead of fear. Marcus Aurelius was endlessly patient and generous with people, but from a position of power, not terror. His kindness was a choice, not a plea. And that is the difference between a doormat and a genuinely good, genuinely strong person. Kindness from strength is magnetic in a way. Niceness from fear never is. When you're kind because you choose to be, when everyone can see you have the strength to say no, and you give anyway, your kindness carries real weight. It becomes a gift, not a currency to buy approval. People trust it because it isn't desperate. Strength without kindness is brutality. Kindness without strength is weakness. The magnetic person has both. So keep your kindness, but rooted in strength. Give from a full place, not a fearful one. Be someone who could refuse and chooses to give. And the final lesson is where all of it begins. The 10th lesson is the foundation underneath every other one. The way you treat yourself teaches everyone else how to treat you. You can practice every lesson in this video, but if you don't fundamentally respect yourself, it will all be an act. The Stoics built everything on the inner life. Marcus Aurelius spoke of a citadel within, a core of self-respect that no outside opinion could touch. People treat you almost exactly at the level you treat yourself. If you value yourself, you set boundaries, speak your truth, and refuse disrespect naturally. Not as techniques, but as the obvious behavior of someone who knows their own worth. This is the deepest source of attraction there is. Self-respect can't be faked. It radiates from how you stand, how you speak, what you accept and refuse. The person who respects themselves doesn't need to chase approval because they already have their own. And that self-possession, that quiet, unshakable sense of their own worth, is the most magnetic quality a human being can have. So, build your self-respect first. Keep your promises to yourself. Hold your own standards. Treat yourself as someone worth defending. Do that, and every other lesson becomes automatic, because you will finally believe you deserve to be treated well. 10 lessons. 1 transformation. From a nice person no one respects into a strong one everyone is drawn to. See your niceness as the fear it often is. Learn to say no without guilt. Stop apologizing for existing. Refuse to tolerate disrespect. Stop needing everyone to like you. Let people be disappointed. Speak your truth. Have standards and boundaries. Be kind from strength, not fear. And above all, respect yourself first. Notice that not one of these asks you to become cruel. The Stoics never taught cruelty. They taught strength, and strength is what makes real kindness possible. Weak niceness and cold cruelty are both failures. What you're building is the third thing, the rare thing. A person who is strong enough to be truly, freely kind, and who commands respect, precisely because they no longer beg for it. You don't need all 10 today. Pick the one that stung the most and practice it this week. Slowly, you'll stop shrinking to be liked and start standing tall to be respected, and you'll discover the strange truth the Stoics knew all along. The moment you stop trying to please everyone is the moment people finally start being drawn to you. Stop being nice, start being strong, and watch how the world changes toward you. If this resonated, subscribe, and come back next time when we look at the Stoic path to unshakable confidence. Until then, respect yourself first and let everything else follow.